We got it right this morning. Well, this afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, because last
Hello.
week with Kelly, yeah, we had Mike's intro queued up, even though we walked up,
You
went
got it
through it
right.
without a hitch. But we appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. This is going to be a very special episode. I am so excited. Let's go ahead and see who's in the chat right about now. What's up, my beautiful queens for DC Wilkes or
Hey.
Wink? Yeek, get some. Hi, ladies. ATL Leo,
Yeah.
strapped up 24. He was just on the Matt Mikes and them show on the Matt Mike Sports Network, and Just K Styles.
Yes.
They lead it up to us now, so everybody's following to watch us. Thank you guys for
Good.
tuning
Thank
in.
y'all.
Smooth
Hey,
C78. How are you
Patty.
doing? Hello, ladies. Brian Peoples, Val Venus voice. Val Venus. What? And who you like? See, they're already trying to get into it. So we're going to get into the DC conversation. I know y'all excited. I know you're extremely hype. I'm here for it. We have Asia. Okay. All right.
Okay.
We're going to get Asia.
Yes.
Are you with us tonight?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So,
Come
Wow.
on.
okay. Well, we have a full panel today. So, hi, Miss Asia. Let's go ahead and introduce, since you're here, go ahead and introduce who you are.
Hi, I'm Asia. Nice to meet all you guys. I know I've been off for a minute, but I'm back.
Yes, you have. But, life is life right now for a lot of us. And,
Yeah.
I'm just happy that you're here with us tonight. It's a special episode for us as we will continue these episodes throughout when there's some news to talk about. Now, when it bears down and we're watching the Hawks and the Braves, you might not see us as often, but when some breaking news come about, you're going to hear it from us. So, all right, Miss Asia, we thank you for being here today. Who's right next to her?
All right, y'all
Miss
know it's
Whitney.
your girl Whitney J from the A, ready to slay, and nobody's in the NFC South is playing today. Everybody's on the couch and in Cancun. So, baby, we could get the plan and how we about to attack 2025.
Oh, yes, it is. Now, are you guys used to everything I do is digital? So I almost messed it up, put in 2024 in dates.
Yeah.
I'm still getting adjusted to that. So it's like you'll see a little cross out, like, oops,
Oops.
2025.
Yeah.
My friend said hi to y'all, by the way. All my friends said hi to y'all.
Hi, friend.
My
Hi,
friend.
friend.
Mhm.
Let's get it. Let's get it. And who's right on top of Miss Wick? Introduce yourself, ma'am.
It's me. It's Christy, South Mississippi Dirty Bird. How's everybody doing tonight?
South Mississippi. Okay, we doing good, Miss Chris. We ready to get in here and have a conversation tonight. And who's right next to her?
Well, it's Auntie Pam down in South Columbus, Georgia. Represent. Hello, everybody. Please like and subscribe to us.
Oh,
We
yes.
definitely need that.
Oh, yeah. Tell everybody and tell all your friends, family, your grandma, your next door neighbor that Ladybirds of AFN is on tonight. We need everybody tuned in. All right. So let's go ahead and, you guys know me, Ms Maggie T. I am the originator of the Atlanta Falcons Nation channel, group, all of that. Me and Matt might put this together, and just wanted to bring along other content creators and people that are passionate just about our Falcons. And it's a lady panel. Who does that? Who does that? How many shows do you see? Not only one, two. How many people we got? And we still got people in the background. So look, you're going to get a new perspective from a different lady each and every show. So I love it. But let's go ahead and introduce a special guest in the house. I'm excited about this one because he's been here before. If everybody kind of went back and watched some of our previous episodes. But I'd love to have him on. And actually, I follow him, and we had Kelly last week. I get all my news and updates from them. It's like, hey, if they're not saying it, I don't believe it. And that's how I look at it. So, all right, everybody, we have Atlanta Falcons is presenting a special guest, Miles Garrett. You guys see that face. He's familiar. He's a sports reporter and an anchor with Fox 5 Atlanta. I'm excited. Let's go ahead and bring the gentleman on. I'm excited. I got to give a proper introduction. I love it. Let's go ahead and bring them on. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me get this banner off real quick. Hey, how you
Hey,
doing?
Miles.
Hi, Miles.
How's it going? I appreciate the lovely introduction there. Thank you.
You're welcome. I always tell everybody, it's like, we know you as Miles Garrett, the reporter, people. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Remember that. He's the reporter, not the other person you might think he is. But we listen to him.
Not this guy.
Not that guy. Not that guy.
Make sure you
Exactly.
let them know it's I, not the Y.
All right, the right way to spell it.
So, and I would just we know him as the reporter, sideline, locker rooms, anchoring on because of course he do more than just Falcons content as well. But we don't know the individual person. So I always like to, shine a little light on you so you can get a little highlight and, a big introduction as much as I could possibly make it. But let's go ahead and go into it. Introduce yourself. Just let us know a little bit about who you are for the new viewers that haven't really checked you out, haven't followed you, didn't know you existed.
Yeah, for sure. No, you gave a pretty good introduction. A lot of good stuff there. I'm born and raised Atlanta, Georgia. Kind of grew up in the Marietta, Woodstock area, and then eventually moved to Alpharetta, and that's where my family is at now. I currently live in Roswell, but grew up a big Falcons, Braves fan, strong ties to Atlanta. Went to college at Elon. First job was in Macon, second in South Bend, and finally came back down here to Atlanta to cover our teams down here. So it's been really fun. I host the Georgia Bulldogs post-game show here on Fox 5, Bulldogs Final, and do a little bit of everything that they ask me. So that's about everything I do here.
Okay. So everybody got a little proper introduction and everything. So that was my question. I asked Kelly. She said, "Actually, I'm not a Falcons fan, but she's a player. She's a fan of people and players and things like that." So good to see that you are. Because I was going to grill you. It's like, hey, are you truly a Falcons fan?
I always had a 770 number. That's
me. Okay, so you're officially an Atlanta sports team fan. All right. So I'm loving it. Love it. So, we getting ready to get into this conversation, see what else everybody else kind of saying. All that woofing for the Bucks to play one extra game. Bucks fans, the beer is in the fridge. Bring me one. Oh yeah. The Bucks made it to the couch, everybody. Congratulations to them.
Made it to the couch finally.
We're roasting marshmallows and everything else over here during the snow, so I hope you Bucks fans have enjoyed that because it was bittersweet feeling to see you get put down. All right. So 1 and done. How about that? 1 and done. But anyway, we ain't gonna waste our time on that.
Let it go by field goal. That was good.
So I'm excited about that. So it said Miles got DSGB tatted on his ribs low key. Oh, down South Georgia boy. So he is, he is the originator. I love it. All right. So, got a little personal influence there. So let's get into this conversation though, because we're going to talk about it. So now this one is going to be a little bit of more a serious note here, because if anybody didn't see me share his interview on Facebook, as everybody already seen, we seen a strategy in, I said strategy, you know what I'm trying to say, in New Orleans during the Sugar Bowl weekend festivities. There's a lot that happened on that weekend. Yeah. People losing their relatives, and our head coach himself lost his father for the Georgia Bulldogs. So Miles, with you being nearly close to the action, I think you mentioned you had just barely missed it. You had left a little bit right before that. How did that experience make you feel? Just kind of give us a little bit about that. Just being right there, being an anchor at that moment, being an ear to someone that just really wanted to tell that story.
Yeah, no, it was pretty, hindsight kind of scary at the time. You didn't really think about it because, look, we left the Bourbon Street. We were out there celebrating the new year. We left Bourbon Street probably around 2:45 in the morning, and everything kind of happens there, probably within the next half hour. So it was pretty crazy, to know you were that close from missing it. I actually heard the the gunshots as I walked into my hotel room, thinking it was just fireworks because it was New Year's Eve. So I just kind of went to bed and then woke up the next day and had 100 text messages on my phone and kind of figured it out from there. But yeah, no, that gentleman who I did interview that next day, Lance McCurley, I've actually worked with him a few times. He's a photographer for Georgia, but like him and many other people, it's just a bunch of media folks. We're all down there to cover the Sugar Bowl. So he was one that was maybe a little bit closer than I was. Luckily, I mean, obviously he was okay, thank God. But yeah, no, it was a crazy experience. The game certainly kind of felt like it took a back seat to everything that was happening because myself and many others, we had to become news reporters that day. So the interview I posted, I mean, I posted a couple things from that day, but that morning, I mean, I went downstairs and I was in a baseball cap and sweatpants because I just woken up just to see what happened because Bourbon Street was 2 blocks from our hotel, and I was down there and I get a call from Fox 5 that says, "Hey, we need you live right now to talk about it." And I even said, "Hey, can I go up and change, like do my hair?" Like,
and
no.
I did notice that she was very casual in that video.
Oh, yeah, that was intentional. I had just woken up. I had just rolled out of bed, and they were just like, "No, like what you're wearing's fine." So I'm like, "Okay, you asked me to do it, so I'll do it."
Right, and I love it. It's just basically, you're just getting your realness, and I love the fact that you do answer our, you're personable. We can message you, we can, request, hey, would you like to join us? And you could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here. So, that's why I like to follow certain reporters that just, not only are you a Falcons fan, Braves, wherever it takes you, college, it's good to have that experience person to come in as kind of on the sideline because we are the voice of the fan in Atlanta Falcons Nation. So we're not experts at this, but we can get our reporting and sources from resourceful people and share, so we enjoy the content and everything that you guys put into. The media has, I swear, it made a big change. I don't know what's going on with the Atlanta Falcons media lately, but it's been fun. It's been entertaining. Hearing you guys in the press conferences, asking your questions, etc., and then to see you here. So I love it. So, but yeah, we just wanted to highlight that. And Nyght Ryder said it's a blessing for you to have left when you did. God was on your side.
Absolutely.
Really was.
Yeah. Very lucky.
So it just shows you that, and that's the reason why I'm a mental. We was just talking about that in the background. I'm a mental health coach. I am certified now. And I take it as because I did that because I do have a daughter that's has a diagnosis of something. She's doing well, but she has to see therapists and things like that to keep maintaining that. But you have people that are just out there aimlessly not having help and things like that, and they're taking it out on people, and you just don't know, where's you wake up today and you don't know if you're going to be here tomorrow. So it's a blessing that you was able to open your eyes and make that interview. So let's go ahead and get into the next topic. 1 second here. All right. So, excuse me. I got to get that tag on. So the next one is overall experience being around the team, reporting throughout the transition of players and coaching. Because how long have you been reporting for the Atlanta Falcons?
So it's been interesting. Technically, I've covered 3 head coaches because I used to intern here back in 2017. So I got the year after the Super Bowl. So I saw Dan Quinn in that group. And then I arrived officially for Arthur Smith's first year. So I've seen 3 head coaches now.
Okay. And how is, just from seeing different coaches and different players, I guess leading up to now, what has really been the experience for you? Just kind of getting to know the staff, and of course you're feeling like, well, I can't get too personal with them because you never know if these players and coaches will be here next year. So what is the experience just being around the team? And do you have any favorite people that leave lasting impressions on you?
Sure. Yeah, no, it was kind of funny because, 2017, 2021, when I was first, getting started, and obviously when I was an intern, I was still a kid at that point, but, you are kind of starstruck at first because, you kind of want to take a back seat to the main reporters, and, you grew up watching these guys, you see Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, all these kids, all these guys that, I grew up watching with my dad on TV. So, it's one of those moments when you see it at first, you're like, whoa, like this is pretty cool. But then, the more you do it and it becomes your job every day, it becomes just that. It isn't as much starstruck. It becomes, you have to really get to know these guys. And I do think that's kind of an interesting aspect of the job, at least for me, when it comes to that, because, I was born in this area, so I know a lot of these people, these guys, the coaches, all this kind of stuff. But it has been interesting to sort of see the different vibes behind each one. Obviously, I caught Dan Quinn, relatively around his height. It was the year after. I was the training camp after the Super Bowl, so it still was a very stacked roster at the time. Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Devontae Freeman, all those guys. So it was kind of funny because you could see, when you see a roster like that, as opposed to the Falcons of the last few years, where they have been rebuilding. They haven't had a franchise quarterback, sort of trying to work their way out from the bottom of the bottom tier per se of the NFL. It is kind of interesting to kind of compare those two because, when I covered them in 2017, again, albeit as an intern, you got a sense of more of a, for lack of a better term, just the organization and just the, everyone is kind of, I don't want to call them important, but, it's kind of the sense of like, okay, you got the best receiver in the league. You got the reigning MVP over here. You've got Dan Quinn, Kyle Shanahan, Steve Sarkisian at that time. So just a lot of big personalities. And, when I came back in 2021, it was almost the opposite because all you had was Matt Ryan. And that was really it. Arthur Smith was an unknown head coach at that time. Calvin Ridley was dealing with his situation where he wasn't there. Grady Jarrett obviously is great, and he was fantastic on the defensive side. But outside of that, there really wasn't anybody else. And then even the next year, it got kind of worse because you didn't have Matt Ryan. You had, Marcus Mariota, the Desmond Ritter. And, it was a lot of different moving parts there. And obviously Arthur Smith and Dan Quinn, very different personalities. Same thing with Raheem Morris. Raheem Morris is obviously more along the Dan Quinn side-ish, if you want to compare personalities. But Arthur Smith, it's kind of funny. Arthur Smith is definitely a lot more personable off camera. I found that very interesting. Like off camera, extremely nice guy, very cool. You understand why players really like him. But just when the camera lights are on, I think it's one of those things where he wants to try really hard to defend his players and not expose anything that they don't want exposed. So you kind of got a sense of that. And Raheem Morris is funny. We had every year we kind of have a off the record sort of get together with these coaches, Raheem Morris, Terry Fontenot, to kind of get a vibe for who they are outside of work. And I really appreciate that the team organizes that, because we can get to know them a little bit. And when we did that with Raheem and Terry this past year, I've run into Terry a couple times. We actually go to the same suit store, oddly enough. But when we met Raheem, it was one of those instant things where you're like, oh, I see how you got hired. Like anyone, when you start talking, everyone's like listening, and everyone's very, he's a great storyteller. He's like a motivational speaker. I feel he lights up a room for sure. For sure. So you do get the sense of that with Raheem Morris. But no, as far as going back to your original question of kind of the transition, it is interesting because, again, you kind of feel bad for the players who have to go through a lot of these different changes constantly, especially, Arthur Smith to Raheem Morris, Matt Ryan to Marcus Mariota to Desmond Ritter to Taylor Heineke to Kirk Cousins, now Michael Penix. It's a lot of moving parts, whereas, back in 2017, it's just Matt Ryan. It's just Julio Jones. It's just Sanu. It's Freeman. Like, it's a roster that is more or less set, and you know what you have. Whereas now there's been just a lot of changes and a lot of So I think that's kind of the biggest thing I've taken away from covering different teams now.
Okay, yeah, because like you did say, you kind of interned at first. It was a whole different atmosphere. Then came back. It was it completely changes. And it just shows a lot that we have been really trying to get this right as far as the coaching staff, head coach, general manager. It's just a lot of things that have. But one thing we always had is our owner. He hasn't changed. So the ladies, we did talk about that a little bit about the fact that Arthur Blank is starting to get a little old. Well, he is older. Eventually, he's going to want to, send it off to his child. I'm assuming that's what they're trying to, get him to set up for It's going to be interesting to see not Arthur, Blank out there with his arms folded, making no decision eventually. But change happens, change do. So let's go ahead and get into the next conversation. And then, ladies, if you got anything to follow up on, you can add here. So the full question, you was right there in the action. Where do you think the Falcons went wrong this season?
Well, I mean, there's a few different things you could point to, right? I mean, the defense is the big thing that comes to mind. Getting pressure on the quarterback, that was still a problem this year. I know the back end of the season, they improved those numbers, when Raheem Morris reportedly took over more responsibility on that side of the ball. But, I really think it just goes back to last offseason. Raheem Morris or not, you have a rookie class that really didn't have any impact this year. When you look at Michael Penix Jr., obviously the headliner, but didn't play into the last 3 games. Ruka Rororo dealing with some injuries, was kind of drafted in a position that you didn't necessarily need. You had Grady Jarrett and David Onyemata right there in the interior defensive line. Braylon Trice, tears his ACL in the preseason. Brandon Dorless inactive for most of the season. And then J.D. Bertrand really is your only other guy that is active. So, not having those any impact really from your rookie class, I'm sure really hurt. But then again, you also go back to the beginning of the season, or the midway point of the season, when you're 6-3, everything's rolling. It looks like everything's rolling. All those decisions looked irrelevant. Looked like Michael Penix Jr. It's a great pick. He can sit, he can learn. Kirk Cousins is rolling right now. He just set the single game passing record in that Tampa game. So things can change really quickly. But I think the thing with Kirk was, it was just, I don't know. We may never know because, we can just operate off of what we've been told from reports, and that being it wasn't a injury thing. But, if you watch Kirk play, he couldn't move. It was, I don't know if that's just an age thing or if that was him just being nervous about the Achilles injury. But it seemed like the offense was severely limited by what he could do in the pocket. You couldn't run those play action plays. You couldn't, you were doing a lot of pistol sets, a lot of shotgun. You weren't really doing a lot under center. So I think that limited the play calling just a little bit. And I think that can kind of go, because again, you look at a lot of different things. This season could have gone different ways, right? I mean, Younghoe Koo makes some kicks, you win some games right there. You win a coin toss against Washington, or you win a coin toss against Carolina. Those are 2 wins that you might suddenly have. It's a lot of what ifs, and of course, you never want to operate in that scenario. But at the same time, that's the reality of what happened. So, unfortunately, that's just kind of how it played out this season.
Yeah.
I feel that even though we were rolling in the beginning of the season, it was still things that we were being exposed to, seeing the holes that so we was, like I've been saying, we just been skating to win these games. And there were some things that we needed to clean up and fix up, like that pass rush and all of that. Like we still got that defense, and we're gonna get into that conversation in a minute. But ladies, y'all want to add anything to what he was saying about what went wrong?
That Minnesota game. I'm sorry, that Minnesota game on the road, that exposed the defense really bad. Back in. But to add on to that, and it's pretty much the defense that couldn't stop them from scoring, So so I'm curious to see and anxious to see who they gonna what kind of upgrade they gonna do to that defense. I'm curious to see who's gonna be the next defensive coordinator, and whoever the next defense coordinator gonna dictate what kind of defense we will have here. So till then, we're just gonna have to wait and see, probably.
That, and I want to add on to what she's saying with that, because there was, I think, 3 games where our defense was exposed a lot. It was the Broncos game, the Commanders game, and the Panthers game, the last game of the season, which was a couple of weeks ago. Because with the Broncos game, I don't know what I was looking at. It was embarrassing because our defense was all over the place. We were playing soft zone coverage as always. Jimmy Lake was not coming up with anything new. Our offense couldn't They could barely get out there on the field because the defense stayed out there, and they got tired, like Whitney said. They literally got tired.
Right,
So
right.
it was like it was sad because because basically, like, it seems like one week the offense is doing something, the defense isn't, and the next week the defense is doing something, and I can't speak today. The offense isn't. Then with the Commanders game, I don't know what to say about the Commanders game because that overtime, we couldn't even get on the field because the defense got exposed. Like, there was nobody in the red zone that was blocking. Like, everybody was all over the place. Nobody was there. Jesse Bates, I'm going to call out because I saw him in the corner, but he was nowhere to be found when it came to Jaden Daniels throwing the ball off in the end zone. Then with the Panthers game, I don't know what I was looking at because we made Bryce Young look like Tony Guns. I don't even know who I'm talking about. Tony Montana, whatever his name is. But we basically got like, it's just, I don't know what I saw. Like, it was just frustrating. And it seemed like each week, Joe Montana. I'm probably thinking of Tony Gonzalez. But we just got exposed out there. We literally did. Denver especially. The Commanders and the Panthers. The other games, they were.
Minnesota was the Addison and Jefferson show. That's all I can say. I was at that game. That was a hot mess. That was really a hot mess.
Especially Addison. Like, what was Terrell doing? He is too short. I don't know why Jimmy Lake puts defenders who are tinier than the offensive players on the opposite team. I just don't get it. Like, if you're going to put somebody on him, put somebody like Jesse Bates or Justin Simmons. And why do you have Matthew Judon playing linebacker when you know he's a defensive lineman? Don't put him out there thinking he knows what he's doing when he can't stop somebody. He's fit for a defensive lineman, not linebacker. But I'm gonna let someone else speak because I had to get that out.
Yeah, it was very frustrating, and I'm gonna step off the defense because y'all pretty much cleared that bar. I would say with the offense, you could tell that we kept going away from running, and that was a huge thing because I feel like that was the biggest weapon we had when we know Kirk couldn't move, and I feel like Kirk should have stepped down, or they should have pulled him really after the Denver game, but I at least give him the Chargers game. Coming back off a bye and you look flat, and at that point it was no touchdowns and a series of interceptions. It was absolutely just ridiculous at that point. But it was upsetting to see because I feel like I try not to be too hard on Zach Robinson because you do have a limited quarterback, like Miles said. We're not necessarily and we're not necessarily knowing what exactly going on to Kirk. Is it physical? Is it mental? And I understand we spent all that money, but in order to win, you have to make some tough decisions. So, because even now with Kirk, and I know we're going to probably get in that to a little later, we basically got a expensive backup now. And it just like we can nitpick and everything that the things we've seen over the season. It was just upsetting because we were supposed to outrun the South. Technically, we did a little with if you look at the record, but it's just like with that Panthers game, that Saints game, it was just the kicks.
Raheem Morris is at fault for that Washington game.
Yeah, I blame Raheem Morris for the Washington game because he did not.
Even all the chat said that he was responsible for that Washington game. I ain't gonna
because he didn't use his timeouts. I don't get it. Like,
and we're gonna continue this, ladies, a little bit afterwards. Of course, I know we can get into this conversation, but let's go ahead and move it along with the next question, though, because we can definitely get deep into there. But I know y'all was excited about it. But let's go ahead and get into speaking of defense, Miles. Do you think defense will be the major focus for the Falcons moving into the draft?
I would be shocked if it wasn't. I'll say that.
Right.
Just seeing how, the last every draft for Terry Fontenot, he is taking an offensive player in the first round. Kyle Pitts in the first one, Drake London, then Bijan Robinson, now Michael Penix. At some point, you're going to have to get some fresh talent there on the defensive side. And when you look at the draft picks, I mean, a free agency, you got to give him some credit, obviously, for Jesse Bates and, guys like Caden Ellis, those guys who have made some good impacts there for you. But, I mean, if you look at the draft decisions, they haven't really worked out. If you look at Clark Phillips, he showed promise his rookie year, but did not do well. Same with D. Alford there. You talked about that Minnesota game, that famous trip where he has, they're trying to chase Justin Jefferson, but you have him. And then, obviously Troy Anderson, who's shown flashes, but he can't stay healthy. He can't be out there on the field. Arnold Ebiketie came on strong there at the last few games of the season. You hope that will continue, but he also did the same thing last year. So you're hoping that maybe he can turn a quarter. So, but all this to say that, the defensive draft picks have not really panned out like you've been hoping for. So maybe a first round pick will ideally change that. Terry has, if you look at the first round picks, they've all performed relatively well. I know jury's kind of iffy on Kyle Pitts, and of course we don't really know on Michael Penix Jr. quite yet. But I think it's safe to say Drake and Bijan have been hits. But if you look at the defensive side, you're going to have to get some dudes, and you can really go anywhere. I mean, I probably outside of the linebacking position, I think that's probably one of your deeper groups right now. But secondary, outside of AJ and Jesse, it's really kind of a mixed bag, because Justin Simmons, while good, wasn't really the Justin Simmons you were trading for. I think you were hoping for a little bit more out of that Pro Bowl type player that you got from him, and obviously the cornerback 2 position for sure. You need another cornerback opposite AJ, and then it's like a broken record at this point getting to the quarterback, the pass rush. And it just hasn't been there since John Abraham. So Jaylen Mayfield, that's a tough grab right there, but still true nonetheless. I mean, even Richie Grant, forgot about him. He was a second round pick, so it's all these guys that just haven't really necessarily panned out that you have to start hitting on, and that falls on Terry, whether or not Terry is the guy making those decisions. I know we hear a lot about this collaborative term quite a bit. I don't know what that really means. I don't think anyone really knows what that means. I think only the Falcons brass really knows what that means between Arthur Blank, Raheem Morris, Terry Fontenot, and hopefully not Rich McKay. I know that his name was there for a while, but I don't know what his job is now. But yeah, I've seen some good names down here. I think Terry would benefit greatly from addressing the school just down the road in Athens, man. I mean, they look at the Philadelphia Eagles defense in the playoffs. You got Nakobe Dean, you got Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, all these guys that are just dogs. I mean, in the literal and figurative sense, that are just making plays for you. And, you need those guys on this team right now. So, I mean, Jalen Walker, that's a name that comes to mind that could be a difference maker, ideally. And Michael Williams, maybe if he falls to you. So, I don't know. Those are guys that certainly comes to mind.
Okay.
And do you think?
I have
go ahead. Go first.
Follow-up. Oh, I'm sorry. I have a little follow-up to that. So, looking at our current defense, we have a good many that are vets. How likely will we possibly see a turnover when we're looking at not only the draft? We still have other players out there in free agency. And then Terry does, and the scouts do a good job of looking in different areas. How likely will we see a possible turnover with our defense?
You could see some. I mean, obviously, you think of guys. I mean, the Falcons are going to be up against the cap once again with the Kirk Cousins contract. So you're going to have to do some restructuring and make some cuts. Guys that certainly stick out to me. You look at a guy like David Onyemata. You draft Ruka Rororo last year. Ideally, you want him to take his place, but that's one guy that immediately comes to mind. So you're don't have as much depth there as maybe you used to. Then you look at the linebacking core. Maybe Lorenzo Carter's out. Maybe some other guys like, I'm kind of blanking on some names right now. But going to the cornerbacks, you want to. Is D. Alford really the kind of guy that you're looking at? Richie Grant, all these guys that are just like, haven't necessarily done what you want them to do. Now, I do think that a good majority will stay, obviously, because a lot of them are very cheap on the defensive side, outside of a guy like Jesse Bates and AJ Terrell and Grady Jarrett, 3 guys who you would assume will be here. So outside of those guys, I imagine they really liked what they had from Caden Ellis. Maybe you try to restructure him. But yeah, I mean, you're just going to have to hit on these rookie guys who and really take advantage of those rookie deals, because I mean, you're going to have to face that same question on the offensive side here very soon.
Oh yeah,
And Bijan and Algier and all these guys. So you're going to have to take advantage of those rookie deals.
Oh, yeah.
And before we, I know, Whit, you had something to say, but someone mentioned that they're hearing some noise in the background. Do you hear a feedback or anything like that? Just let me know how we sound. I appreciate you just pointing it out to them. Or if you heard my son, that's just him making noise in the background. That's just, we mamas on this show. That's one thing about it. We're a little different than everybody else show. We babysit and everything else and still talk about our Falcons. So if you hearing some wee, that's probably my son. So, but of course, let us know if there's interference. Just let us know. We appreciate you. But go ahead, Ms. Whit. You said had something else also to add?
No problem. Well, Miles, do you think it's possibly a scheme issue that we have players, even if we draft some and get some, that we have to find the actual scheme to actually fit the players we have? Because I think that's been a major conversation amongst all Falcons podcasters, especially us, about these players are not in good appropriate places when it comes to being in the schemes for defense. What do you think?
Yeah, and I mean, I think a lot of that will have to do with obviously who they hire as defensive coordinator. But I mean, you guys mentioned a lot of those right there. Like, what is Matthew Judon doing in one-on-one coverage with Miles Sanders in the Panthers game? Certain situations like that where you're like, what? This doesn't seem right here. But yeah, I mean, that's part of the reason, if not a big reason, why Jimmy Lake probably did get fired. The schemes. I mean, we saw it. A lot of times you're out there. I mean, you guys know, you saw the games. There were a lot of situations where schematically things seemed lost. And Raheem Morris himself mentioned it at the end of that Panthers game, just saying, "Hey, the defense took a big step back today."
He did.
So my opinion on that, as far as who you want to hire, I mean, when you look at Jimmy Lake, I think originally last year, and you can look at Falcons Twitter and folks online who could reaffirm this, is that wasn't a popular or B renowned hire at that point. That hire was met with some criticism, and I think in hindsight, rightfully so, based on what we saw, because it's not exactly like he was blowing the doors off at his previous stops. I think when it comes to this hire, you really have to find a proven commodity, I think. And that might be more difficult to find. Steve Wilks right there, perfect name that you might be looking at. A guy that was really at Falcons training camp quite a bit. So he's a guy that you could certainly watch. I mean, Robert Saleh seems to be like a pipe dream right now. I think he's interviewing for some head coaching jobs, but you can't doubt what he's done with defenses, whether that was with San Francisco before and, when he was in New York, as soon as he gets fired from New York, you see their defense take a drop. Now, I do think there are, a concern rather, talking about, I saw a comment earlier talking about Jimmy Lake, obviously he has that connection to Raheem Morris, the friendship hire of sorts, kind of going back to Jeff Ulbrich, because that was the guy that Raheem hired when he was interim head coach back in 2020, who was obviously the defensive coordinator with New York, but didn't necessarily do well as interim, and the defense did fall off. So, the defense in New York, you kind of look at was that Robert Saleh or was that Jeff Ulbrich? You don't really know. But at the same time, I don't think he currently would be a quote unquote popular hire, because he was here before and the results weren't that great defensively. So I think you look at guys immediately like Saleh, like Wilks, maybe Leslie Frazier, perhaps, guys like that, who have had some success in the league coaching defense. So to do top five right there, again, Steve Wilks, Robert Saleh would certainly be at the top of my list.
Okay. Putting you on the spot there. I love it, fans. I love it. But of course, it's all just out there. I know they had an interview with Wilks today.
It was Martindale.
It was Martin. Martindale.
Okay, that's right. So
I heard it came from where did he come from?
So he's the Michigan's defensive coordinator right now. Now he's had some success. He was with Baltimore previously, and a lot of Baltimore defensive guys have had a lot of success in this league. So you certainly like that.
He's a good choice.
He's, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think he's the highest paid coordinator in all of college football right now. So, again, Jim Harbaugh, another guy. Jim Harbaugh, another guy that has typically made some very good hires in his career. So, I do like that. Wasn't a big fan of Lou Anarumo, the Bengals guy who apparently is being scheduled to be interviewed. I mean, outside of the Jesse Bates connection, the Bengals defense has not been very good. So I want
to bring this up real quick since we're talking about defensive coordinators and interviews and things like that. This was brought to our sister. I thought it was freaking hilarious that the Saints are trying to pick up our dead weight there. So since you are a Falcons fan, sir, how does this make you feel that they're picking up our scraps, or at least trying to?
It makes me feel pretty good. I mean, it's funny. The Falcons may end up interviewing Dennis Allen as defensive coordinator.
Yeah,
so,
could be. Yeah.
I just thought that was hilarious, but of course it just shows that it's a job at the end of the day. Everybody, I don't want it to be the rival team and all that, but it's like, hey, somebody's calling, I'm answering it. I need an interview, I need a job. So either way, honestly, if you look at it, we have done ring around the rosy with a lot of our players, and we got the GM, so
Kate Ellis.
Hey. So it happens. So sometimes it might not fit for that team, but it might be they're in need of a coach. So you never know. So maybe. So we'll see how that goes. But it's just I just want to throw that up there and ruffle some feathers of people that's watching from other teams that didn't know that But nobody's it's a job at the end of the day. You can be loyal to the brand or the logo or whatever, but shoot, if you let go, it's time to move on. So I don't have any, just like Terry, Saints for quite a long time. Then his whole family moved here and had a whole overhaul of gear to get into the Falcons spirit, and now they're a Falcons family. So
Hey, it is what it is. But Miles, one last question: why do you think our team, our Falcons, why do you think they're allergic to UGA players? Because I'll say, because I know you mentioned us trying to look down the road to Athens, but it just seemed like it just never pans out. Why do you think that?
It's $1 million question, right? It's almost been weird, because just they are so close, and they do typically produce a lot of great defensive talent specifically. So, if I had the answer, I'd be telling everybody, because I think that's the $1 million question, especially lately with the Georgia defense of back in 21 and 22. I think that entire starting defense is now starting in the NFL right now. So, and are very good at that. So, it's a question I wish I had the answers to.
Well, maybe because a lot of them now we didn't get to
we had a Georgia defensive player that actually was on the practice squad, but is now on Buffalo's practice squad right now.
That's true. I will say, in this office
got away
right
from
now, is one of the few players drafted from Georgia, DJ Shockley. He's right behind me, so there is one back here.
Hey, DJ Shockley. Hey, I've been inboxing a lot of these people. Answer my inboxes so we can have him on the show next. Hey, put the word in.
Go ahead, tap him on
the shoulder and say, hey, this is where you need to be. The Ladybirds of AFN, we would love to have you on, definitely, because, of course, we always honor our legends as well, because we feel like, as a fan perspective, and we've had some former players on. We had Jamal Anderson, Chuck Smith, Terrence Mathis. Chris Draft might be joining us next week. Nice. And they've been on here before. And the buzz about it is they just didn't feel like, the Falcons at some point didn't honor them as much, as far as that team that, just all the players that was in part of that Super Bowl year and moving down, the Vick era and everything else. They didn't feel like they were getting the respect and the love. I think we've seen Jamal Anderson kind of tweet some things out in frustration, even though he said he was happy. Allegedly, but it has some truth to it. And I think that's why you got Terrence Mathis that does the head coaching. You know, they want to be NFL head coaches, but sometimes, you know, a lot of these players don't get that opportunity, so they go to college and things like that. So just to hear their story, and they like to come to Atlanta Falcons Nation and just kind of let their hair down and just talk football. They just want to live in their heyday. So that's why I like to honor them. It's like, hey, let's talk about you. We can hear about the Falcons all day long, but what about you? What you got going? So Shockley, I know you hear me. So, but yeah, let's go ahead and get to the last conversation with this one, because I know we said we was gonna have you on for a little bit, but this one right here. So your thoughts on the rumors surrounding, because as a fan perspective, is all we can go by. Kirk Cousins' possible trade or staying with the team as a backup QB after Michael Penix was named QB1. What are your thoughts about? And then you've been with the team. You've seen this carousel of quarterbacks back and forth. You know, it was our demise last year with that situation. Here we are again, a whole nother quarterback, you know, change in the middle of the season. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I never thought when I first started covering this team that I would have covered 6 quarterbacks in about 4 years. But yeah, no, I mean, all we can operate on is what Terry Fontenot told us right now. That's what he told us. He told us the plan is to keep Kirk Cousins as the backup quarterback. Will that actually happen? I have my doubts. And I have very big doubts on that. I think that was just more of a, you know, negotiation type thing to other teams saying, hey, if you want him, you're going to have to trade him.
You got to come get him.
Do I think the Falcons have a lot of leverage there? I don't. I think, you know, what team is going to want to trade for him when they know that he's not going to play? And there's not really any – the Falcons don't really have any leverage on their side. So I do think – I mean, again, Terry Fontenot said there's no truth to the fact that there were reports saying that we will plan to cut Kirk Cousins. I'm looking at this sort of like the Russell Wilson situation last year in Denver, where the Broncos just cut their losses. They know they're going to have to pay Russ, and they have a rookie quarterback that they're just going to roll with.
Yeah,
I think that's the similar thing that's going to happen with this team. I just don't see a scenario where you're paying a guy that much money to not play at all. And he's just sitting on the bench. So, I mean, again, that it's a great backup to have, I'll say. I mean, Kirk Cousins as your backup quarterback, he's probably one of the better backups in the league you could have.
I'm glad you said that, because we haven't had a good series of backup quarterbacks that is like, hey, if Matt Ryan goes down.
And that's the thing, because Taylor Heineke was supposed to be that guy, right? You know, you love Taylor Heineke in a perfect world is a pretty good backup quarterback. You know, you could honestly maybe even say the same thing about Marcus Mariota. You know, he's currently backing up Jaden Daniels. You know, these are guys you want as backups, not starters. But at the end of the day, that's what they are right now. So, yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where I don't see it really happening. It's something that would be very surprising to me if Kirk Cousins is still on this team, you know, when training camp begins.
And then Father Time is catching up with him. And, you know, he has a history here, I think, with his wife.
They're from here. They actually got married in Alpharetta, believe it or not.
So it's like, why not just, I mean, for one thing, if you're going to have to, you know, if somebody wants them, it's going to have to come with other people as well. We just don't want Kirk Cousins. You need to be giving us, you know, your whole kitchen sink and, you know, upstairs and all of that. So, but then that's not realistic either. So you're right. I feel like there's no promise that he'll be here, but then again, we don't know. It's kind of speculations on what to happen, but it's not a bad situation to have a veteran in the back. Because I look at it like this: I felt that he had an unfair advantage when he had to become quarterback 1, because Mariota was supposed to have been that veteran to, you know, get him ready to go, and he's supposed to have been watching and sitting back and learning. At least Michael had this opportunity under somebody willing to help him. They're getting up together, coming on the field together. They're, you know, building a bond. And even though he wasn't playing with the first teams, but he was watching under someone that was happy to be here. You know, before the downfall, we was was moving, we was rolling. You know, the fans was happy. We had the swag surfing going on. It was amazing. So why not that? You know, what a better situation to have that veteran still be here, just being that locker room presence for, you know, this quarterback to kind of get it, ask questions. Hey, what are your things about this? What should I do differently? It's a decent situation. We paid the man, so why not utilize that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I see why. You know, again, you're paying him regardless. So would he be? Why not still have him on the team? I just know in the way the business side of this works, the way, you know, the NFL works, teams work. I know they don't like paying guys to sit on the bench, that kind of money. So again, certainly would be a great presence for Michael Penix Jr., who, you know, all play aside, I think Kirk Cousins handled everything very professionally this season, given the circumstances. Yeah, it'll be certainly interesting to see what moves they decide to make with Kirk Cousins going forward.
You know, and Terry, he's a cap man, so it's kind of what he was brought here to do. So we're going to be able to see what he decides.
Back into it.
You know, because like Grady Jerry is another one, you know, that everybody's been talking about whether he's going to be here or not. That hometown discount there, people saying maybe he'll take that, but you know, I feel like he's going to want to still continue to be paid. He's that presence. He's that veteran presence that these defensive players are needing. But we're loyal to the logo, not the player. You know, it's a business at the end of the day. So people just, you know, don't lose it. You know, have heart attacks about your favorite player being gone this year. And we can get into that a little bit after that. But anybody else want to follow up question before we wrap this up with Miles?
I have a quick question for Miles about, you know, us as fans. I have a question. It seems like the formats for the different questions that come at press conferences seems a little different than what we've heard in the past. Like, do journalists have the flexibility to ask those hard-pressed questions like those that Terry got versus the one we saw our head coach get this entire season? It just seemed like, are they pre-approved questions? Like, they seemed a little canned at times and off of the subject as it relates to the game itself.
Oh yeah, because we in the chat like, ask this question, let them do it.
Right.
So
it seems.
Yeah, so it's interesting. The way
she froze.
You're talking about game specific, right?
Well, not only game specific, it's just even looking at how questions were asked to Quinn and also Smith this season with Raheem. They just seemed a little soft, like our defense. So when it came to like a lot of questions that our content creators, even just across the country, we as fans had a lot of questions and we're like, man, why they didn't ask this? Because we saw this and this. And not only that, even by quarters, you know, I see the season in quarters. So even quarterly, as we saw a lot of changes, especially in the second and this last quarter, you know, it just seemed like the questions, they never really asked him the hard questions until, you know, he was away and was asked questions by like a radio personality and other personalities. And he seemed to get a little, how he responds to questions. It ruffled a lot of fans' feathers, including mine. So it was almost as if fans aren't important. So I wonder, other than on the Atlanta Falcons website, there is a segment where different fans can send in questions, but really a lot of the hard questions that fans, you know, really want to know, a lot of those questions don't get filtered in. And so I was just wondering, from a journalist perspective, do you have to submit questions and they have to be pre-approved prior to, you know, some of the interviews and things like that?
No, first of all, we don't submit our questions, but I will say, in regards to your question about the fan stuff, look, I mean, the Falcons are in the business of not trying to, and like any other professional team, really, not trying to address those hard questions. That's really what our jobs as reporters is for. Now, that being said, our situation at Fox 5 is actually a little bit unique in that we're technically partners with the Falcons. So we are technically a arm of them. So, we do have to be slightly careful in how we word things, speaking candidly here. It is sort of a thing where, our job is to sometimes make them look pretty good at the end of the day. But you have to have a fine line of being a journalist too at the same time.
Exactly.
So it's an interesting line to draw, but I will say D. Orlando Ledbetter, great reporter, been in the business for a while. He's usually the one that asks the hard questions. Terry, or every time we're in Falcons press conferences, he always gets the first 5.
Yeah, he do. He's like, Terry, go ahead.
Yeah.
He's like, no, go ahead,
Yeah.
you're first.
Him, Tori McElhaney, who actually does a lot of work with us, is fantastic.
Yeah.
Especially as someone who works for the team.
And we had her on the show before, actually.
Yeah,
We've
Tori's
had her
great.
here.
Tori's awesome. But yeah, no, it is. I do understand the sentiment because as we've seen right here, strapped up right here, Terry is a very good politician, and they are very good at because again, they're unfortunately the nature of the business. They're not going to tell you how they really are feeling. What things are maybe actually going on behind closed doors. And sometimes when you have some of these press conferences, that Terry one aside, I think that Terry one was the one where even he was like, I know we didn't succeed. I know it's on me. I know. Whereas before it was like, we're still we're fixing it. Don't worry. You guys are criticizing us. Then they win. And it's like, see, we told you we were fixing it. Then they lose the next week. So I get it. I certainly understand the fan perspective as someone who, watches this team as well. I certainly understand it. But yeah, no, it is kind of a fine line because you do get, when you hear their answers, sometimes you get the sense of, okay, I'm not going to get an answer out of this because this is how they're responding to this. This is kind of how they're kind of putting the line here. So I think that's kind of the long-winded answer on that. I know it's probably not the exact answer you're looking for, but that'd probably be my 2 cents on it.
Mike, you just squeezed in here. Hey, Mike.
Yeah. And the reason why I asked that.
How are you wonderful ladies doing? I'm not here to see the ladies. I'm here to see Miles. By the way, I just wanted to tell Miles, man, this is from the heart. I've seen you from the very beginning, from where you, Tori, Kills, I always want to say Kills, but Kelly, where you guys first started, man. And I just want to say I'm extremely proud of where you guys are at this moment. Because like I said, when you, Tori, all you first got with Fox 5, you doing your things. Just see where you are with the Atlanta Falcons fan base. There's not a lot of reporters that we can connect with. So you, Tori, Kelly, Maria, you guys are doing a wonderful job. So I just want to give you guys your flowers because a lot of us Falcons fans don't like to give out our flowers. You want to hear from Mad Mike first and foremost. So I appreciate you, brother.
Mike, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. That means a lot.
Thank you. And Miles, Whit had one more question. Do you have a little time for that?
Yeah, I got time for one.
Okay, one more. Okay. Go ahead, Whit. We're going to go ahead and close it on out with Mr. Miles.
Thanks, Miles. I wanted to ask, so now that we've seen Michael Penix for 3 games, how do you feel like from your aspect of seeing how he's been throughout the season, just being a backup and now being thrust as QB1? How do you feel about Mike and going forward now that he's going to be our future, basically, franchise quarterback?
Good question.
Well, here's the thing, right? You can never be too quick to judge on these guys. Let's go back to this past offseason. CJ Stroud, we were all ready to say he's top 5 in the league. Didn't really have a good year this year. Now, again, they're in the playoffs and, he could go on this run, Super Bowl, he's right back in that conversation. But, I think, quarterbacks, rookie quarterbacks, they get too much credit when things go well and they get too much blame when things don't. So It's one of those things where you got to compartmentalize some of these things sometimes, because yes, Michael Penix looked very good. When you go out there, his best game of the season was that last game against Carolina. He showed flashes in those two games. He has the game-tying touchdown drive against the Commanders. A lot of clutch genes there, fourth down. And then, he has a pretty good first game against the Giants. He has a whole year where he's sitting down. So I get the excitement. I truly do. I understand it, because I think this is the first time since Matt Ryan that, you've seen a guy that you're like, okay, we finally don't have questions about the quarterback position, because you have the last few years. You didn't know what you're going to get with Kirk. You didn't know what Desmond Ridder was, Marcus Mariota, Taylor Heineke, all these guys. It was all uncertainty. So this is the first time now, because, again, he's a first-round quarterback, so he's got the talent. Obviously, they're invested a lot in him. So, and he's also older, too. He's 24. So he's probably the most pro-ready quarterback in this draft class. So all those things considered, yes, like, there's a lot of excitement, rightfully so. The coaches love him. Terry Fontenot does. Zach Robinson loves him. But at the same time, keep in mind, he's only started 3 games. He's probably going to have more rookie growing pains next year. That's going to be the name. So I think the excitement is warranted. It should be expected. I think you should expect to see him perform well. But I wouldn't expect him to be Superman. And I don't think he should be.
And he's allowed to, with him being a rookie. Of course, our fans, we're passionate. So, everybody has to get thrown on the bus and fire him tomorrow whenever they're angry. But at least with him, it's like, well, we'll give it a little bit of leeway because he's still trying to figure it out. So now he have a whole off season to get it together. So I do see growing pains, like you said. But thank you, Miles Garrett. And great question, Whit. Thank you again. Tell Shockley I'm about to inbox you very soon.
I'll let him know as soon as I hop off.
All right. Well, you want to go ahead and just let us know what you got going on, and just go ahead and let us, because of course you don't even just cover the Falcons. So what's your next project right now?
Yeah, no, it's going to be a busy few weeks. End of the month, me and Suda Upadea, who covers the Georgia Bulldogs, will be down in Mobile covering the Senior Bowl.
Okay.
Potential Falcons players, obviously some Georgia players and some local people here in Georgia. Then a couple weeks after that, I'm flying down to Brave Spring Training. So I'll be down there in Sarasota, Northport, covering them. I'll cover the Daytona 500 as well that week. So it's going to be busy few weeks, and then before we know it, Braves will have opening day here in Atlanta. So it's going to be going by quick.
All right. Well, we're glad to see you again. For those that don't know him, it's Miles Garrett, the reporter.
Not the
anchor at Fox 5, people. All right. Look at the spelling. We appreciate you just coming on and taking your time out today and just, giving us some expertise from the sideline, because, we don't get into those press rooms. And like Christy said, we have those questions that's hard hitting. And of course, we don't need, if the fans get a chance, I think, Terry and all them probably throwing their laptops like, OMG, these fans. So I get it. You got to put them in a good light, of course, but I'm glad it's not, stricted where you have to pre-approve your questions, so we got a little insight about that. Maybe the fans will ease up a little bit. All right. But thank you, Miles, again. You have a wonderful evening. We'll be looking out for your content again, and we thank you. You have a great one.
Thank you.
You guys too. It's always a pleasure talking with y'all. Take care.
All right. Thank you. All right, ladies, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Well, we can keep going. We still got about 30 minutes. And then, of course, Ty comes on at 9:30. We have about 20 minutes, actually.
Okay.
So, now we're just going to open it up to the floor and everything else. Just based off what the conversation was and everything else, what did you got from it? Did it give you a different perspective from his side of the view, or, overall, just what are your, I like what Kevin said. He said, let's just have realistic expectations. But I think next year's playoff or bust for Raheem. Blank was pissed at that last game. And Raheem himself.
Everybody
was mad.
Even the players was like, I don't want to talk right now. You saw B. John on the sideline looking like he lost his brother.
Upset. Yeah, B. John was really upset.
So
almost to tears, and it was bad to see.
He was crying. He was
And
crying.
but I actually am happy that Miles said it, and a lot of us know it, but as fans, we really don't want to actually hear that when you have a rookie quarterback, it they have growing pains. While we
Yeah.
want to win now, you have to give them time in order to see what they're gonna be. And
But
we seen flashes when Desmond Ritter, I know people hate when we bring up his name. We've seen flashes when he replaced Marcus Mariota, and then that next year it was hell on wheels. So I know we know MP9 is a way better player, and we got him first round, and that arm that's a gun right there. So we just can see with him how he's going to use this off season, especially because he's not worried about trying to get on the team, worried about the combine, different things like that, how he's going to work, with the offensive players that he knows is going to be here. That we have to just watch the magic work. As much as we don't want to know it and how much money we put into Kurt, we still are rebuilding. We're in the post Matt Ryan era, and we don't actually kind of have those. We actually now just realizing we have premier players. We have Bijan, of course. I'll go ahead and put my head out there and say we have Mike Penix. I think he is there, and we got London. And we do got Grady. I know people throwing out there with his contract. I do think he restructured. I'm hoping he does remain a forever Falcon. I just think the fact is that the scheme is a big issue and what he's in and why we're not getting the production out of Grady. Because when it was there, it was there. But if you get a double team, triple team, because you that dude, that's just the things going to happen in your production. But of course, it's a team game. But I was happy he was with that because we seen everybody with the Minnesota Vikings saying we didn't need Kirk Cousins but we started seeing them memes soon as they lost of the Scooby Doo thing when they was like, oh, who's this person? Snatched his face off and there was Kirk Cousins. So I mean, it's just that we do put a lot on these rookies coming in and don't give them time to develop because we want to win now. So it was good that it have a actual reporter who's in the trenches and who talked to these players every day, who's seen the action through an organization like the Falcons, ins and outs, to be able to admit that.
Okay, and I'm trying to get Ty getting ready to come on, so I'm gonna be in the background for a moment to get him set up. But I love what you're saying. It just to hear from his perspective. Like I said, we're not in the locker room, so. And then the fact that he was saying that Arthur Smith is a personable person outside of that, he was a little cocky and,
Hit the fuck out of me.
I didn't like him like that, but you don't know the real person behind the cameras and everything else. And what he said made sense. It's like their job is to kind of make them look good. So you're not, and you get that. You don't get a lot of information from these press conferences. It's like, we don't want to give you everything that we're talking about. We're going to deflect a little bit. We're going to give you some rah-rahs and some, togetherness. And we got this next time. But we don't want you to know everything. But at the same time, they were giving us little by little of what their plans are. And Christy is huge on that, researching, because it's all on the internet. You can figure out what their strategies is. And they basically said it. Just pay attention. You'll know everything.
Exactly.
Anybody else want to add to that? Let me go ahead and get Ty together.
And that's why I asked the question, because Miss Pam could tell you we're oftentimes across the just different formats, and there's a lot of things that are being assumed, and that's why I wanted to hear his perspective. And I can understand, because just imagine if you ask not just the hard questions, and I just tailored that way. But if you ask some of the questions that we hear people make an assumption on, then I would see why somebody would never want you back into their locker rooms or press rooms ever again. But the questions, if you just think about how seems like Arthur Smith just got a lot of the hard questions and in your face sometimes, even Dan Quinn, and then this season just seemed soft. And I just wanted to know what was the perspective on them going so soft on the type of questions. Even they would go off kilter. If you go back to some of Morris's press conferences, they'll go off kilter. Well, how's your cat? And did it get run over by that car? Nah, did it miss? You know, it'd be crazy. And it's unrelated to the topic at hand. And so, and it fill up a part of that little 10 to 15 minute time period, and then they're off. And that's why I asked the question, you know.
And that was a good question to ask. That was an excellent question to ask.
And it was even good to hear from Kelly's perspective. So I appreciate you, Ms. Maggie, for getting the journalist in, because we need to hear, how do they capture, they're hearing our voice, as well as from the sports perspective and the organization's perspective. We're able to hear some of that. And so I really do appreciate that opportunity.
Yeah.
So, and I agree with you, ladies. That's why I'm definitely trying to bring in more people that are a little bit more expert. You know, they're back there hearing, you know, they're getting the information to give to us. So it's like they got a little bit of a head, you know, leads way of information. Of course, there's still not everything they can give us, but even with some of the former players, and I did mention it with Chris Draft, he might be coming on this next week, possibly, or next 2 weeks. A lot of these players are heavily still involved. Actually, in the last couple of years, Terrence Mathis said, I actually feel welcomed here again. So I do want to come around. So you see all these players signing autographs, and actually John Abraham, close friend of mine now, you know, letting me know about a couple of former players that sit here and watch the Atlanta Falcons Nation, Might Sports, the originators. You just never know who's looking and listening. So that's why I said it's great to actually be able to invite them on to have a conversation, because now you're getting to see, you know, what they do. I like to highlight them. So I'm excited to what's going to happen in the off season. I'm definitely going to be, if anybody know anybody, shoot them my way. Let them know that Maggie is out there trying to get them on the show, because I love that they are personable, and they're, you know, they're just not, hey, I'm bigger than bigger, you know, and act like they can't come on the show. It's like, but the fans make who you are. So don't ignore the fans. Like I said, we are the voice of the fans. So anything else, ladies, you want to add to this? See what the comments now. It says, right now, the Falcons are the nerd in school, and the NFL is the bully. Eventually, that nerd is going to get sick and tired and hit that bully in the mouth. Give it some time. And then, of course, you got to think about, they got fines and things that comes with it. The NFL wants you to be politically correct. So when they come on these podcasts, they can kind of actually be a little bit more laid back and be themselves, you know. So everybody got to think about it. Look at what's happening at ESPN. Social media. Everything is starting to lead. It's why you got YouTube TV now for sports. You got primetime TV. You know, this is the day and age of what TV is at this point. So it's like, why not take advantage of this moment while we can, while we're still small? You know, we're trying to get there to 4,000 soon. But for them to come out and do that, it's an honor. It's definitely an honor. You're going to look back at this is at when all these podcasters, you're going to have people like ESPN. Hey, can we pay you to do this? Because nobody wants to watch us anymore. You know, actually like your concept now. Maybe they need to be a little bit more raw and at you in the face type of commentary, because it's like the fans want to keep it real. Like, keep us, you know, informed, but be real about it, be realistic, you know, keep it classy and stuff like that. But like, look at Nyght Ryder is a mess right now. That's what I'm saying.
It is a
you
hot
know,
mess.
Well,
it's a do y'all think
also,
go ahead.
Netflix.
Oh,
Netflix has been
Netflix just got WWE
game.
That was huge. WWE just went over there and they shouldn't, you know, we had the Super Bowl, not the Super Bowl, Thursday night.
With Amazon Prime and different things like that, is going away from traditional now cable TV, which is now the traditional thing. So a lot of things are changing.
Oh, thank you. I love this. Said Maggie got to be on Channel 5 soon. Her verse is thank you.
Oh, that's sweet.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I want to go back to the comment I had. Give these ladies some grace period give them a grace period. And thank you, engine number 9, everybody that's kind of coming in, and Cosmic.
Yes.
Again, we got a lot of
Thank
things.
you.
Man, thank you for
Thank
watching.
you.
Even if you caught at the late end, you can go back and watch it.
Definitely.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't know with Pat McAfee, which I appreciate. He actually streams. Even though he's on TV, he also streams as well. I actually watch him more on TikTok with his streaming than I actually do on TV.
Yeah. So it's like, and it's a lot. I'm actually trying to get Michael Turner on here. He answered me, but I've been trying to get him to answer me back. I'm like, let's set a date soon. So eventually, I will definitely have him on. He's interested in it. He's probably busy because him and Ovi. How we pronounce it? They both have their own podcast they're doing, and so I just love the players are just having an avenue, and they want to still talk some football, and and just be known and loved, and and just take advantage of this social media everywhere now. So let's get in it. Let's get the Atlanta Falcons Nation Lady Birds on internet radio. Big studio made. Like, I have dreams. I have things that's coming for us ladies as we were speaking in the back. But AFN is strong. Thank you. Yeah, Pat is killing it. So on that, ladies, any last minute thoughts, we can go ahead and get ready to wrap this up. I think Ty, actually, I'll put this up here so you guys know. Ty Kale, he hasn't been on the doing his shows in the last couple of minutes, for a while. He had some family things going on with him and hasn't been able, but I think he's trying to come back for the off season. So that's even better. You still will get Falcons content, even in the off season, along with us and the ladies. Nice. He follows after us at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. So yeah, it's the same channel. So just refresh and tune back into him, show him your love. Subscribe to the channel, share this out. If you know somebody that knows somebody, please hit me up, Maggietproductions@gmail.com. You can find me on social media, everybody. Just let me know that you have somebody that wants to come on, or you might want to come on and join us as a guest. We're open to everyone. And I also wanted to bring up and follow him again, like I said. We also have the Red and Black event coming up. That is July 26, people. I need you to mark it in your calendar. I need you to start donating, because as you know, we have that education fund that the proceeds will go towards that, because you got to think about it. These educators are only getting a small little budget to supply things for the classroom, and then we got the flu going around. We got a virus going around. These kids are coming to school because it's a daycare for some parents, and they're spreading that stuff around. So they need sanitizer, they need printing paper, and then they run out of that kind of stuff, and then that's it. That was the budget for the year. So this is kind of give them back a gift card back to them. Hey, here you go, treat yourself, since you had to go in your pocket to get the rest of the stuff. So you can write it off as a tax write-off. Christy has donated, and we thank you. So thank you. You can find us at $ Atlanta Falcons Nation, and then we have a GoFundMe. It's in the description. Find it, people, because you already know the Red and Black event. We do the open bar. We make sure you're eating good, and we have us a good pre-pep rally before the season. So come on in here. Go ahead, ladies. I ain't want to hold up too much of y'all time. Let's wrap it on up. Last minute thoughts. Whoever want to go.
I say, but I'm appreciative of everybody, but make sure y'all donate. Make sure y'all donate, because we had a great time last year. Y'all know the bar was free.
Yes, thank you. All you had to do is tip the bartender. Like, we want to make sure we get back to you.
We had a great time. So make sure y'all go ahead and donate. But again, this is a work in progress, everybody. I know we were disappointed by the playoffs, but we seen them Bucks get bounced once and gone. So we basically at the drawing board, and all we can do is just keep being loyal supporters to our Falcons. No matter what I do, we may look clownish and everything else like that, but I mean, we could be the Browns. So
Yeah.
I mean, there's
Yeah.
a lot of other
It could be
desperate
worse.
teams out there.
Could be worse. You're right.
I mean, I know we still got that incident that happened back in 2017 that's still on our brains. But again, we need to move on. We have a new regime. It's a new year. Let's just keep supporting our team, and hopefully this DC search turns out with something wonderful, so we can have a great year. We got a good quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
He may be a rookie, but we're gonna put it behind it because I feel like a lot of things is it could get disheartening being on X. It really can, in a lot of social media, especially a lot of fan pages that say they're Atlanta fan pages, but you see more hate than love. It could get tiresome. So make sure we always keep our red and black to our hearts. I know we got the Hawks currently in play. Our Braves are getting ready to come back up. I heard that disappointing news when it comes to oh man.
I haven't heard anything.
Oh no, when it comes to Akuda.
Oh.
Acuna.
He's actually hurt for a while. He's gonna be a minute.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm.
he's
I
gonna
haven't
be.
heard that update.
Yeah, they saying that he might not come back to All-Star. So I mean, we done been through some things, but we didn't taste championship, and I believe we're gonna get back there. But other than that, I'm praying for a good DC search and they get the scout. Cause baby, we gotta do something about that D. And that's all from Whitney J.
All right, Miss Witt. I hear your son out back there in the background. Like I said, we mamas over here.
Yeah, we
So
mamas.
sometimes we got to roll with the punches here. So thank you, Witt, for definitely being here tonight. And anybody else want to add something? Thank you, everybody that's been here. I see a lot of faces, a lot of loved ones that's tuned in tonight. Not even Falcons fans, but you're watching. So we appreciate you. But go ahead, ladies. And y'all want to finish close this on out so we can pass this on to Ty Show.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I want to thank, like Miss Pam always says, thank all the content creators that when we come on their page, even tonight, you know, K-Style shouted us out. It's always different ones that shout us out when they see us come on. And thanks to the chat family, because oftentimes we float
What
from
you think?
content creator to content creator. Shout out to our chat family that is out there. So I really do appreciate it. Ms. Maggie, you always hold us down. We really do appreciate you champion our platform for women in sports, or women that love sport.
Yeah. I'm gonna say something in a couple of minutes, but because anybody watch the end of K Styles and them show, I was like, this the reason why this Lady Bird show is together, because women's need respect when it comes to sports and entertainment. We know what we're talking about, and no, we're not just showing our behinds to get the respect. Okay, my clothes are on. Okay, just saying. So yeah, there's a hint at you guys over there talking about Angel Reese and her cheek that was showing. So at the end of the day, she's still a young lady.
Exactly.
And she's just trying to figure herself out at this point, and she's good looking. So, you know, I mean, you got men walking around with what they got on, right? Especially them NBA players and everything. They be looking a hot ham mess half the time. So, but no, you know, if you are professional, you know, you are looked at as a role model and things like that. So you do have to hold yourself accountable for how you carry yourself and things like that. So, you know, the integrity of it all. And I just love to see ladies doing this.
Yes.
Respectfully.
Yes.
So that's okay, Miss Pam, you got any last minute thoughts?
Yeah, like to Christy said, thank you to all the content creators. Especially I want to give a shout out to Coach Unchained. I have definitely learned a whole lot listening to his show and about about the football and everything. So I encourage y'all to go ahead and like and subscribe to him. But getting back to the football, I feel real good about Michael Penix because one thing for sure, they don't have enough film on this guy, and he has the coaching staff that was in place rather than Desmond Ritter didn't have in place. And the offensive coordinator, Zach, he's on the same page probably running the pistol like he wanted to. And as far as the defense concerned, until we get a defensive coordinator,
we
we
don't know
won't
what they
know
said.
what the defense going to look like. So we got to wait till they hire our defensive coordinator to formulate what kind of defense we're going to have. But I
And I'm
feel
gonna
real
say
good
that
about this year. And like I said, shout out to, please like and subscribe our show. We enjoyed everybody tuning in, and thank y'all for tuning in.
And I thought we was gonna have a little bit more time to talk about it, because I did do a video earlier about the two interviews we had with defensive coordinators, and I actually had a breakdown. So go back and watch that video. But we can kind of push this into our next episode.
Yes, but I'm pretty sure
those
some more interviews will be
it's
out
gonna
by
be some
then.
more interviews by then, so we can really like kind of do a coach where we break down each candidate of who they think and what, but shoot, it that Michigan guy, so
yeah, he sounds good. I was on Steve Wilkes behind, but after seeing his credential, I kind of like him,
So either we'll have our guy or we'll still be talking about it by next Tuesday, 8 p.m. People, I'm telling you, don't be late, Eastern Standard Time. Okay.
Yes.
So
like and subscribe, share our video, Facebook,
share it
Instagram.
out.
Make sure you get it out.
Yes.
Come on, people. Well, thank you, everybody. And is it? You think he's it? But we don't know who else they've been to interview. So, and I have actually a couple of names they had put out there. So yeah, we'll bring it to our next episode. But until the next time, people, this is the Ladybirds of AFN at Atlanta Falcons Nation. Yeah, go ahead and follow it up with Mr. Ty Kale on this channel. Just refresh yourself and go back and look for his video. Let him know that the Ladybirds sent you. Show him some love, because he's had a lot of things going on in his life where he hasn't been able to get on and do a show. So the fact that he's here tonight to go ahead and air live, show him some love and some look. Give him his flowers as well, because man, life has been life, and for a lot of us, even for Asia to come on here and she's going through something, to come on here and still give us a little bit of her feedback. I love it. This is a family here.
Yes.
We appreciate everybody. So on the next time, you already know, if y'all need some therapy, I'm y'all mental health coach. Y'all book with me so we can talk about these Falcons and get through it, people. I'm gonna help y'all get through that. But I appreciate you guys once again. I'm Maggie T, and we out, people. See ya.
Bye, y'all. Next week.
Bye, y'all.